Okay, so let's go ahead and begin our fight with the HTTPS. The first thing that we need to do is configure our web server on Kali to actually be able to accept connections on port 443 and to have some sort of a certificate which will actually be served to the visitors. Now, I'm not doing anything on my Windows machine, like quite literally nothing, and it is still making some sort of silly connections, which is very hilarious and frustrating actually. But I'm gonna leave all of that just running in the background. Now we need to go ahead and configure the web server for SSL. So I'm going under the assumption that the web server is actually running. So let's just go ahead and type in apt-get open SSL, and hopefully it's already installed. Sorry, apt-get install OpenSSL. Oh, actually it's not. So we do need to install it. Usually it comes pre-installed. System this already exists. Exiting, resolver block, initialize. OpenSSL. Ah, no, wait. OpenSSL is already the newest version, automatically installed on our. Okay, so no big deal. Let me just go ahead and type in apt-get auto remove. Getting some sort of an error here, but it's not gonna it shouldn't actually bother me in the long run. OpenSSL is there, and that's exactly what I need. I'll see if I can actually fix this later on, but for the time being, it's not really all that important. Now, since the web server is running, we need to first type in service Apache to stop. And now we're gonna type in a2 and mod SSL. So we will enable the SSL on our server. That is one of the first things that we will actually need to do. Now we need to, the default website will come with a useful template for SSL. So we will go ahead and activate that now. So a2 and site default-SSL. That's done. Okay, it's telling me that I need to reload and restart the Apache, which is fine. I'm not going to reload it and restart it for every single little thing that I do, but let's do several of them and then perform a reload. Okay, so service Apache 2. God, I'm so used to systemctl. Apache 2 restart. And then reload just in case. Okay, now that we have enabled our Apache web server for incoming connections, which require SSL, we need to go ahead and create a self-signed certificate. Now, in order for us to create the self-signed certificate, we first need to basically just go ahead and create a new directory. Well, not strictly speaking, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. Apache 2 SSL. And that's going to be nice. And now we need to go ahead and generate the new certificate and a private key to protect it as well. This is a little bit of a longer command. I should probably copy paste it, but since the shared clipboard is not enabled, I'm just going to go ahead and retype it. So x509 nodes days, I don't know, let's give it a year, so 365. The days flag will just specifies how long should the certificate remain valid. So I've just stated that it's going to be valid for a year. And then I'm going to type in new key, so ARSA, it's going to be ARSA, so let's give it to 48. If you remember the lecture on the VPN, it's a fairly similar procedure. So key out. The key out flag specifies the path, will specify the path to our generated key file. So this is going to be etc/apache2 SSL, and then I'm gonna go ahead and type in, I don't know, apache dot key. This is arbitrary, so you don't need to specifically name your key file in this manner. I'm gonna type in out/etc/apache2/SSL. This is this is the path to our generated certificate. So one is the key and the other one is the certificate. So apache.crd. And that should do it, basically. Okay, or not. I hate it when I have to retype these commands like this. I always make an error somewhere. I see where the error lies. It's a dash, not a 0. Okay, so this was fairly fast. If you remember from the web server, this is significantly faster as this machine is has a lot more resources. So here you can specify the parameters for the certificate, and the site that you are trying to copy, you will try to take as many of the same parameters. So you can type in, you can basically leave it at default, or you can just type certain things here. I'm gonna type in, I don't know, US, and what state shall I use? I don't know. What states shall I use? God, there's so many of them. California. I hope that I've spelled this right. And the city shall be, I don't know, LA. And organization name, I'm able to basically type in whatever I want here, but I'm just gonna leave it at default. But feel free to give it an organization name and organizational unit. You can also type that in. Common name, it's going to be admin.com. So this is the domain that you are trying to for which you are trying to create the SSL certificate. So since I am targeting this domain, which is I will go ahead and type in that domain name. And email address, I'm just gonna type in test@test.com. So this doesn't really matter at all. Excellent. So now I have actually done that. Now I need to go ahead and play around with the permissions a little bit. So let's give 600 to Etsy Apache2 SSL, and then wildcard for everything in there to have the permission of 600. If I go into Etsy Apache2 SSL, and if I do ls-l, you will see that only the root has read and write permissions to the apache.cert and apache.key. Now, what we need to do is actually configure our Apache. Aside from giving it the ability to use the SSL, and aside from creating the keys and all that, we also need to configure our Apache web server to actually tell it to do it. So we shall type in vim etsy apache2 sites enabled default SSL conf. And here we can start playing around a little bit. So it says here server. I'm just going to go ahead and enter the insert mode. It says server admin. So below it, I'm just going to type in server name, which is going to be .com. And this is going to be on 443.com. Yep, there we go. So this is going to be on port 443. Go ahead and press escape because I need to find SSL certificate, SSL certificate file. Yep, so this is what I was looking for, and it's going to be etc SSL. Well, that's not really our path, so let's just go ahead and delete that completely. And I'm just gonna go ahead and enter the insert mode and type in /etc Apache 2. Be very careful with the path. You must specify the correct one. If you don't, this is not going to work. Apache.crt. Okay, and down below, we're gonna pretty much do the same thing. It's going to be SSL certificate key file. So SSL certificate key file, we need to type in /etc/apache2 /SSL/apache.key. Okay, that's great. So once these changes have been made, we just need to basically check if the virtual host configuration file has everything enabled. So aside from the certificate file and the certificate key file, we need to make sure that the SSL engine is actually turned on. So let's go ahead and press escape and type in SSL engine on. So that's great. That's fantastic. Let's go ahead and write and quit. And then we're going to type in service Apache 2 reload. Excellent. So we have actually reloaded it, and it should be perfectly functional now. Let me just go ahead and type in ipconfig. Oops. ipconfig. God, ipconfig. Oh my god, ifconfig. ipconfig is for Windows. I've been doing some work on it, so it just stayed with me. So this is the IP address of 192.168.122. Let me just go ahead and go over to my victim machine. And let's just go ahead and see if the SSL certificate will actually be served. So 168.122.231. Okay, so this is the regular site. Let's go ahead and attempt HTTPS://. Okay, so it does give me the option to actually add the exception. Excellent. So our web server is perfectly functional. It's able to serve the SSL. It's able to serve the HTTPS connections. So let's go ahead and see how this would work out in a scenario through a demo. Let's go ahead and use the DNS spoof and then do a redirect and then see what happens when a user would encounter a site with a self-signed certificate.